Mann. Ja, ich finde, Last Bit. At the end. At the end.
Is that gaming news I smell? When I was a child, we used to say, gaming news sind Liebe. Gaming news is love. Destiny 2's last major update and new all-in-one collection bundle have pushed the game to its highest player count in 2 years. The resurgence thrust the game's player count past Marathon's all-time Steam peak, with Bungie's veteran shooter generating more buzz than the company's newer release. Of course, the timing is especially ironic, given that Bungie has spent the last few years shifting resources and attention from Destiny 2 towards Marathon, only to find that apparently people didn't want that. According to a popularity report across PC and consoles, Destiny 2 managed to hit over 1 million daily online players between Marathon's somewhat disappointing reception and the failed live service game Concord. Remember that? Sony is looking a bit like my uncle with the ponies, always backing losers. You owe me $100, Uncle Ted. Anyway, eyes up, Guardian. You got 2 tokens and a blue to collect. The Destiny 2 players will get it, I'm told. Nintendo went nuts at their June 9th Nintendo Direct, announcing more games than we've got time to cover. But the highlight was their announcement of a Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake coming this year. We didn't actually see any gameplay from the remake, just a teaser trailer. So naturally, some of the conversation shifted to visual comparisons between the trailer and the famous Tireless Man Unreal Engine fan remake of the game. No official release date was provided, but Nintendo says it's coming in 2026. If that wasn't enough, gorsh, we also got a surprise new Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer, which, as is to be expected in this day and age, sparked some debate over its visual style. There was no release date info provided for this game, but there was a wave of other JRPG announcements, including Final Fantasy Resonance and Xenoblade Genesis. However, my favorite announcement was Nintendo Switch Sports Resort, because now it's got thumb wrestling, a sport in which my grandma and I have an intense, long-running rivalry. Uncle Ted, give me that $100. I'm gonna buy this game, and then I'm gonna crush Nana's bones. Xbox celebrated its 25th anniversary at this year's game showcase with a gorgeous translucent green Series X console and controller modeled on the original 2001 box. Then they doubled down on the throwback energy with big returns to our favorite franchise. The headliner Halo Campaign Evolved, a full remake of the 2001 classic that's gonna hit Xbox, PC, and PS5 on July 28th with 3 completely new prequel missions, space combat, and a surprise third-person mode. I'm too close to the gun. I need to see my own shoulders. The trailer for this Xbox flagship game was proudly stamped captured on PS5 Pro, reportedly because the footage was meant for Sony Showcase first. A lot of unusual things happening. Gears of War E-Day, meanwhile, locked in an October release as an Xbox console exclusive, which developers swear was always gonna be the case. It was never supposed to come to PS5. Right up until someone clocked the PS5 logo in a video, quietly deleted. Look, do we want exclusive or not? What are we complaining about? And Fable finally resurfaced with a multi-console February 2027 release date, leaving you plenty of time to train for Albion's national sport, kicking chickens. Hey, that sounds fun in a video game, but the QuickBit said to me, you think you can read the game news and change the world? It doesn't work like that. Well, QuickBits, it's the only thing I know how to do, and I gotta do something. Valve is pulling the plug on physical Steam gift cards. You know, the one hanging on the thing by the checkout at the supermarket, because apparently scammers have to ruin everything. The company says it won't restock those gift cards, so once retailers sell through their inventory, which is expected to happen by the end of 2026, they're gone for good. Thankfully, digital cards and the ones you already own still work. This is just to flush out the ne'er-do-wells who keep calling my grandma about her overdue taxes and trying to thumb wrestle her over the phone. That's for me. Game studio Toys for Bob announced Spyro: A Realm Beyond at the Xbox Game Showcase, marking a return to full Spyro development after being forced to support Call of Duty for years while they were owned by Activision. Fans joke about developers getting stuck in the Call of Duty mines, but that seems to have actually happened to Toys for Bob. No longer. The studio's head Paul Yan noted that regaining their independence took many miracles, but they're now able to focus on more joyful games, and that's nice. Spyro's an upbeat little guy, and this is an upbeat little story. Square Enix finally named the third and final chapter of its Final Fantasy VII remake trilogy, Final Fantasy VII Revelation. It's out spring 2027, and for the first time, it's launching simultaneously on PS5, Xbox, PC, and Switch 2 instead of making non-PlayStation players wait a year like last time. The trailer shows off the Highwind airship, new areas, and the looming capital W weapons. But real fans know the true final boss is breeding a gold chocobo. Is that a boss or an achievement? It's a metaphorical boss. Grayson says. You can take that to the bank. Pokemon Go developer Niantic is quietly testing the Explorer gadget, a virtual item that auto throws Pokeballs and auto spins Pokestops for you while you walk around in the real world. It's basically a software version of the $100 Go Plus accessory, except built right in the app and currently capped to being used once a day. Wow, this game convinced people to go outside, and then once they were there, it's convincing them to use their phone less. What kind of a rug pull is this? And a GTA 6 superfan claims he's been crouching in the bushes outside Rockstar's Edinburgh headquarters with microphones, a homemade oxygen sensor, and a running tally of how many cigarette butts he finds. His logic: more people, more smoke, and less oxygen because they're breathing it. It means trailer free for GTA 6 is about to drop. Even GTA fans are begging this guy to stop. Guys, you gotta wait for the crime simulator to do the crimes, okay? If you do them too early, you go to jail and miss the pretend ones. You see how this? And it would be a crime if you didn't come back next Thursday for more game news. Now, I gotta go team up with my girlfriend Trixie, my little brother Spriddle, and his pet Chim Chim. We're trying to figure out the true identity of Racer X.
Go, Speed go, Speed go, Speed go!
Bruh. Get this one later. Oh shit, all that as well later. Fuck.
What is everybody, this is Alex from HGTV. Stand on Spielberg's new movie Disclosure Day, a film which I thought looked pretty awful from all the advertisements I saw, and it's really proving to be quite divisive. So I had no real expectations for this outside of the Spielberg movie in 2026. I like his films that address aliens in some way, even stupid ones. I find something charming, his weird fascination with this alien subject matter, even when it doesn't work. And I don't know if I gotta be real, this is really entertaining to me. I think a lot of things that people despise about it are exactly what I like about it. It's campy, it's messy, it's broad, it's schmaltzy, it's corny. There's something at the heart of it that did kind of cut me open a little bit, which we'll get into. So this is written by David Cat, who was all over the place as a screenwriter. Like just last year, he was responsible for one of the best scripts and one of the worst, which is quite unusual. And yeah, I had Lane Dire Destiny of the Mummy, don't go back far enough in the original Jurassic Park, Raimi Spider-Man, Panic Room in there. There's only one because that's what I used to mark movies as watch as, and I didn't use ratings. I guess point being, it's not really a quality indicator when you touch a project. He apparently did 40 plus rewrites and iterations on the script, and yeah, it shows it's fucking all over the place. So that kind of work for me. The film just won't work for you if you don't connect with this empathy heart that it has. But aliens in the movie consider humanity's empathy and care for one another to be the greatest superpower. I know, corny as fuck. I'm corny down, you're wrong, corny motherfucker. And the way that's explored through the Emily Blunt character did feed into this idealistic, romantic fantasy I've long had, where we just had some way of truly looking into one another. It would be very difficult to fight and kill each other because you share, everybody's pain, share the suffering and strife. And I can feel it right now, some of you rolling your eyes. And there are a lot of schmaltzy Spielberg movies I roll my eyes at, but on some level through a majority of the runtime, while it's more of a conspiracy thriller that happens to be about evidence of aliens, and it's a pure kind of sci-fi story. I really liked it, especially with that pace. I wasn't bored with it. It's pretty long runtime, I was worried about that. Some of the MacGuffin sci-fi tech stuff did lead to some very cool thriller chase sequences that had good tension. It's fluid dynamic camera work, so high energy and kind of key jangly. But when it wouldn't on you with something that was kind of on the nose or schmaltzy, it moves so quickly. With the idea being that in the back of my mind, I was very much aware that there's like no way to end this. There's no satisfying way to end this without like another half an hour or more, honestly, to ramifications of what the title is implying. And you know, it did its pinky toe into the concept of, well, obviously a lot of our concepts and ideas and societal standards we built around religion would come into question if we had undisputed evidence that aliens were real. It clearly is much more interested in being a throwback 70s, 80s action movie than it is a psychological or philosophical approach on what happened with alien life contacting us like an arrival or one of my favorites under the skin. We're in 2001 or something like this. That is hilarious. Is that a real poster? That's funny. This is like the movie. It's really the poster. I actually like the poster more than the Burn Deal one. I saw this poster in cinema like blown up to be huge. It really bugged me where they positioned Josh O'Connor because when this was really blown up big, all his little hairs kind of look like unkempt pubes or something. Tell us how they do a movie, but since the animals are in frame here, that is a big issue with this movie. The CG animals look fucking terrible. I don't know what the deal is with that. Like it's been a long-standing pet peeve of mine. Sometimes it's fair, sometimes it isn't. I get from an ethical perspective, CG animals is obviously only torturing human being animators instead of real animals, like pretty standard in movies from obviously a lot of stuff like pre-2000s. There's one shot in particular where it's a static shot, so it's not one of these flowing crazy blocked out sequences where the main characters see a fox and the fox looks so fake and cartoonish. I was like, you can get real fox, like one frame. It didn't have to do anything complicated as an actor in the scene. And the animals they pick kind of like rare. You can get deer, you can get fox or raccoon. At least for close-ups, you'll get close-ups, whatever. The Alabama looks just about film. There's some CG in there, which is confusing when, you know, the 90s Spielberg, like Jurassic Park is still ascended to say, I wish there was more commitment to puppetry and some real animals ethically. Yeah, that's a huge thing against the movie that says it. Andy Glenn in particular was really good in the film. She's kind of responsible for it working on a mission level for me. The issues do just compound in that last 10 minutes, where it's just trying to do so much and do something so big. It just kind of ends in a way that is open-ended. As opposed to you thinking, it just kind of feels, nah, there was something more to do there, there's something more to say there. It's kind of a weird comparison, but combining these two war worlds. Another uneven, all over the place movie. One I really enjoy. Like I was saying, the direction's going to be fantastic and thoughtful from a blocking and movement perspective, especially in the action world. Another CG in this movie actually looks great too. The true companion nature is almost inverses of each other, where World was very much this response to 9/11. The color palette, the atmosphere, and feeling of the movie. There's something impressive about it. It's kind of inverse in how it's trying to acknowledge what issue of our time is now. Everyone's each other's throats and tensions are somehow feeling higher than the early 2000s. So going for this kind of tender, corny approach out of it feels, I mean, to me, felt a little bit therapeutic, like a hopium humanity first counter narrative. That's kind of cool thing about the movie in the background. There's an alluded to World War III situation kind of bubbling, and obviously echo of just the instability of what we're living through. I can't take this observation, but kind of Mayo mentioned this. Elon Musk, like, I've forgotten about how he sees empathy as a weakness, and a lot of people like him conduct themselves that way. And this fucking dickhead is one of those issues all the time. No exaggeration, it's fucking embarrassing. But this man has the power he has, the bullshit he spreads, especially on my country lately. Like, I'm going down here, but point being, like, calling the empathy side of it, I guess I needed that from a movie at this moment and gave that to me at least. And I guess I'll talk about the ending a little bit now, which will be spoilers, so it's just spoiler warning. And you know, it's not that much to spoil. It shows his hand pretty early in the first half an hour, and showing the Josh O'Connor showing his like girlfriend the video evidence. So yeah, these are just like the greys, like classic aliens, kind of boring design. There's some cool shots towards the end, some of the big newsreel with John Roswell and kind of some of the old reverse engineering and whatnot. It reaches a point where like the first villain just kind of like gives up. He just sits down and watches. It's almost like the script is up. And it's like, well, we didn't really have to win this, so it does feel clunky and rushed. And more like the end of the season of television or something. Where it's like, oh, this is like another jumping off point for a new story entirely. Like quickly has to address things like, is this AI that was verified kind of stuff, which a few movies had to do in the last few years, obviously. Another thing, like it's corny stuff that they did, but wheeling out the alien in a wheelchair and like putting on the news with it. That's kind of the place I feel that we're at, where there are all these claims being made. So it feels like no one actually cares, but maybe would if we could actually see a creature of some kind. And then I feel like the reaction would be fake news, not too complicated, subject matter for a movie of this ilk to address. So I'm in a position where I enjoy a large chunk of the movie, but it does suck when endings really work. So I really rate that when it comes to enjoying myself for most of the runtime, but kind of feeling a bit of a fart at the end. I wish the John Williams score was a little more memorable. It was there, but it wasn't really a compositional moment that really popped for me. I don't know, maybe this will completely fall apart. I rewatched me knowing like where it goes, so I did enjoy my experience with it. I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was just logged into this adventure. So as far as the rating for now, I gave it a very generous, low 7, high 3 star. I like. Generally enjoyed my time with it. I don't know how to trust people when Ready Player One, so I just avoid it easily. It's a worst film. I hate that film, but this is Ready Player One. So let me know your thoughts on Disclosure Day. Was it too much for you? Too stupid to get into? Too corny? Let me know comments and I'll see you next video. I think we have a good stuff on this because I think it's going to be a range of opinions. So check it out in the coming weeks.
Well, guys, welcome back to news. It looks like the video game scalpers are at it again. This time continuing to target Nintendo, but it seems that Nintendo is fighting back here. Even coming out with a few hoops that people have to jump through to buy Switch 2. We'll go over all of that here today. Also, we're already talking about Microsoft as they head towards their next generation project Helix amidst the ever-rising cost of RAM and how they have plans to try to make things more affordable. And yeah, as a video game for products, we'll take a look at all of that. Then we also take a look at Valve with Steam and the situation right now when it comes to physical gift cards and how Valve apparently is moving away from all that. But we'll go over that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to this one, make sure you subscribe down below. We're going to start today with Ubisoft and what else, but more layoffs in the video game space. In fact, there's an interesting thing that was happening where Ubisoft was going through job cuts and they had it all under embargo for press outlets, but Insider Gaming got word of this and started running a report on the whole thing. But now we seem to have a clear picture here as to how many jobs are affected, and we can see this is where Insider Gaming made a little list here of all the different studios that were affected. It appears to be roughly 180 positions that are being cut. Ubisoft Winnipeg at the top, 65 employees laid off, and the studio is Lowe's. Ubisoft Belgrade and it's approximately 100 employees laid off, and that studio is closed. Ubisoft Barcelona, 51 employees laid off. Rainbow Six Siege, 120 employees ran off, and Ubisoft San Francisco with an undisclosed number of employees being laid off. And I guess it's not surprising because we've heard about so many layoffs in the video game industry over the last 2 or 3 years now. It's been pretty consistent here going forward. And Ubisoft, like everyone else, has a certain amount of employees. They have depending on how many jobs they've been cutting anyway over the last couple of years. They're like 20,000 employees, which is that's a lot. So I mean, I assume they're going to keep trimming workforce as we go along. So something tells me we'll probably hear more about this from Ubisoft in the coming years. Also, we do have Lies of P coming out on the Switch 2 this October. And interestingly enough, we got word that the physical copy is actually on the cartridge. And it's a shame that that is news, by the way. It's like, is it a game key card? Probably. Oh, wait, it's not a game key card. And in fact, you can see it here. This is over on Amazon. They have this listed up here as Lies of P Complete Edition. They listed it as October 2nd for the game releasing. But you can see no little banner at the bottom of the key card symbol. And they're going a little further here with the select cards, I guess. I have 6 of them, so I guess that plays into the lore of different images for this game. This is a complete edition, by the way, so it does have the expansion, Overture, cool expansion that's packed in. If you look around on the platforms, the base game is like $50 or $60. The expansions like 25 to 30, so it's about right. It does line up with the typical pricing, although we have seen it on sale over and over again at this point on the platform. So I know you don't wait for sale for this, but it was just nice. A nice surprise. It's actually on the physical cartridge that you buy. Oh, we have some pretty big numbers that were revealed for Summer Game Fest. Jeff Keighley saying this over on social media accounts, making this our most watched Summer Game Fest yet, and 62 million live streams, 6.7 million intentional keep concurrent. I think we're going to count all the co-streams, other things that are happening here to track and see where the audience sits. About 23% over 2025. So it is like trending in the right direction. Although just in general, these Jeff Keighley events have only gotten larger and larger year over year. It's like Game Wars under something. It's insane stuff. They're he's even just on Amazon Prime being streamed because he has gotten to that level. So I will give Jeff credit for it. I'm happy that he is in the video game space. He's attempting as much as possible to push it forward. Yes, you see a lot of mainstream that pays attention, but that's not how it works with how expensive these games are. But it is nice to see someone who is actually trying to make a show like this happen. But each year in the summer, whether they're great reveals or not, in lieu of E3 just going away. So Summer Game Fest rolling along, only getting bigger year over year. Hey guys, some of the quick news out of the way. Let's get into the big stuff. Let's start right with Nintendo and their battle against scalpers in Japan. We're the Switch 2 because they issued a statement on this. We can see this. This is overall just the official Nintendo
Just copy this shit. Are you kidding me? Been a whole year.
There is the Japan only region launch. It's only having a Japanese language one. There's a multi-language one that's also sold in Japan for more money. They say they've identified multiple orders suspected of scalping and other such activities. So we had temporarily suspended sales. It's pretty important. I'd like to at least explain why they stopped sales of the Switch 2 on their Nintendo store, because that's going to, of course, raise a lot of questions. However, they have some requirements if you would like to buy one through their store, and they kind of make sense. So if you're selling multiple systems to a scalper, they're probably not playing a bunch of games or have an account that has logged a bunch of games for hours, say, on a Switch system. They're saying here, Nintendo is as of 11/59 on May 31st, 2026. Sunday, the playtime on the Nintendo Switch must be 50 hours or more. That excludes demo software, free software, and the number of units purchased is limited to 1 per Nintendo. Now, what this is, if you, let's say you completely missed out on the Switch 1, is you're releasing games that time you're coming back to the Switch. Look, Ocarina of Time Remake is announced. I don't really have the ability to show that you have 50 hours on the Switch, but Nintendo right now with where the yen is in relation to other parts of the world in terms of currency exchange, it is in a position where the price is now on the Switch is going up in places like the US, where later on this year, the holiday season and it's like prime time season, it's going up to 500 and 550 figure for the bundles. So with that in mind, if you're going to Japan or having many of them sent out, it seems like the conversion rate, say for the US, is like $425, $130. The shipping and other things involved. I guess that's enough to where people are buying a bunch of these. Nintendo's findings are at least shown here, and then shipping them around the parts of the world to resell. There might be more lucrative places in the world to sell multi-language Switch 2 out of Japan, but the currency exchange rate or just the rate of the Switch 2 in that part of the world. But one thing for sure, it seems like right now Japan is like prime location for buying Switch 2 systems and then shipping them out. And with that in mind, if you take a look here, now these would be the sales from the Fujitsu charts. So last week they were revealed recently. These is how much actually 50,000 copies. How much rolled. And then I thought this is the 30,000 copies. That's not opening. The thing is, the game's right now for it now obviously on PlayStation 5, but it's also game key cards. So I don't know, it's just me, but I tend to think about game key cards as priced by digitally. These track physical sales. Okay, football kickoff on the Switch with 20,000 copies. Then we have Pokemon Yoshi in the series, Mario Kart World, 007 first, like Minecraft on the Switch, A-Train. Right? And look at this, Astro Bot, making a big time comeback, 10% jumped over 100% by the way from the buyer to get into that top 10. Look at the hardware here. These Switch 2 it is down with 23,000 at system, and obviously significantly less than they were doing. Multiple hundreds of thousands of units when that price increase first announced in Japan. 20 years now, the Switch 2 is yes just more expensive in Japan, making it harder and harder to buy the system. So it's interesting to follow along with the Switch 2 as we go forward this year and get towards the end of the year, of course. But Nintendo, any big releases that go longer, getting the third-party support, I'm sure that will help them somewhat. But things like Ocarina of Time Remake, I think will be paramount, especially in like the US for the holiday season. Things like Fire Emblem being a big one, and a few others as we go along. So it's interesting to follow, and I guess Nintendo's battle with scalpers over their Switch 2 hardware will continue on too. Next, I'll talk about Microsoft as they go into their next generation of project. As Matthew Ball, who we've already discussed here after the Xbox Game Showcase happened. And I pointed to say, as he's making rounds of different interviews. And so, for example, there was a video that was posted in an interview with Matthew Ball, and here he is talking about the overall approach to Project Helix and how they're going to figure this one out. He talks about the memory storage situation that will, of course, impact next generation. Obviously, if it's 30 gigabytes starting in terms of system memory on the Xbox or the PlayStation 6, that's going to be quite a bit more expensive than what we have right now, which is already expensive, the PS5 and the Xbox Series. I just say they're committed to shipping Helix. That is going to happen. Okay, but they're rethinking everything again about Helix. And the goals right now, make it affordable, make it flexible,
and rethink the console model in an additive way. So, about that, well, in an interview with the game business, he says this: the costs have gone up way too high with development. At the same point, everyone feels terrible with prices going up on hardware or software or microtransactions. But it's not good if that is the only option. I think the best evidence comes from the TV streaming space. In excess of 100% of net ads in the United States for years and years have been on ad-supported tier. That has not excluded anyone from ad-free experiences. Those products are still there. They're still popular. The question is not can we cram ads in everything. The question is are there opportunities to allow people who can't afford or wouldn't try to have it on board to our properties and franchise. I don't need to report on my plans. I frankly not recommend them despite my interest in the category, but it's coming from that perspective of how to reach more people, how do we keep our products affordable, how do we make sure that we continue to find outstanding work from our development teams accessible. It's not about placing an ad in front of someone so we can sell, a piece of like that right now, just based on my area and how it's not anymore. But the point here is ad-supported experiences. And when people get like, this game cost me $70, how many ads? And product placements, the thing, like forever. It's been in like full price games, movies, TV shows, and when it's not obvious, it's just subtle. People don't mind as much. I think it's more so when you start a game and it's like, hold on, you gotta watch 30 seconds of this ad, then you play. That's the future I think people are like really concerned about right now. And I do think that could actually happen for like a free tier for Game Pass. I don't think it makes, to me, it's like a really bad idea to try that with something that costs $23, $20, $15 a month. Now there are streaming tiers with Netflix or Amazon, wherever, where they do have ads even if you don't pay, if you pay money. But it's like a cheaper tier, and that's what we're looking at right now. It seems like in terms of market research. So I think the one tier that would actually make sense to have an ad like that is if it's free, because then you're putting money, like, well, okay, this is how I pay for Fire Emblem Gears of War, EA or Fortnite or something from my phone and hotel room somewhere or something. Or maybe some people that's enough for them and they just stream through their TV app and they watch an ad, 30-second ad every, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes or something to keep playing. But one thing's for sure, Microsoft will be looking into many ways and orthodox ways to try to get prices down for their hardware that right now sounds exorbitant. I do also wonder if their plans are changing for hardware configurations or allowing the third-party hardware manufacturers to use the chip they develop their own configurations, so they want to tackle the more expensive tier of the system or go for like a cheap if possible. So there's not like memberships we put in here, can we actually get the price down to this one, it's gonna be interesting to see Microsoft try to figure this out. As they're mid-shipping, people think this thing coming out all the way 2027, so we'll be at this point 6 months maybe away from them at least starting to talk about it more thoroughly. Like Next, talk about Valve and Steam as peers. Gift cards coming from Valve, like physical gift cards are going away. This makes some waves online because people are trying to figure out what the deal is here, and it really is as straightforward as what Valve is saying, which we can see. Now, this is what other Steam websites saying. Steam gift cards went out of stock at retail locations. We will not be restocking them. We expect all retailers to be out of stock by the end of 2026, so we will no longer be selling physical gift cards. You will still have the ability to use your Steam gift cards on Steam whenever you choose, subject to local laws. We also do offer Steam digital gift cards. Start working to make this an even better experience. Yes, check out what we had last year. It's another way for family members and friends to give Steam users with a digital card anytime. That's a shame because I'm sure there's many grandmothers out there just go to like you're at the register, look around like I'll just get them the gift card off the CVS shelf or something, buy it, and that's easy. Not so fast now. It's gonna be like, oh wait, now you gotta go through the Steam portal and how like what is this? So that is kind of a shame in that regard. But so Valve kind of frames this as this is an easy out for people who are trying to scam others to get money from them without being tracked. And I'm not wrong about that. That is so one of those weird fishy phone calls. Like your card's stolen. You gotta do all this and then we're gonna do a test transaction of $300. We'll break it up into 3 different gift cards. Here's how you're gonna do it. You're gonna read the code. Okay, look, I understand that is a thing, but this also kind of removes the idea of who to buy with anonymously if you just don't want to put your card information into Steam or really any of these platforms. They work with cards at the register. It just once again relies more heavily on different vendors like your Valve, Steam, or PlayStation, and Xbox to just take everything on their end with your card and the pricey stuff. You'll be concerned about security breaches. It's nice to have the option of a physical gift card that you can just trade stuff into, like a GameStop or something. So this one I saw people like scratching their heads. I get the out of there being scammers out there that obviously leverage gift cards. I don't think that's the whole story. Also news. Let's talk about one of the standout titles from the last week, and that's Final Fantasy Resonance. Now there was a review that happened with IGN. I was going through and I jotted a few things down here to go over. We're going to take a look at some of their gameplay here. Now they were able to play roughly 3 hours in this review setting, and the story itself is based on it's like a mobile game, Bravely Exvius. I never really got into it, but it is not that game rebuilt. Okay, so they're pulling from the story and the lore of that. This game is built from the ground up. Okay, so there's like some miscommunication or whatever about that. No, it is not the mobile game being retooled. This one is built like straight up brand new. Okay, but it's fine to create this like a traditional RPG. That's right. So it's fully turn-based. It's not like active time battle. There are random battles. They specifically have one random battle because that's how it was back in the day, and this is sort of nostalgia play here for the most part. They show an airship which looks awesome, kind of in this HTTP style. You can fly around between multiple continents and they're separated by water. You can see you're playing that old 16-bit vibe. But you also right on chocobos. There's a stagger system in those turn-based battles, which I was replaying Final Fantasy 13 recently, so I saw that and went, oh, that definitely looks Final Fantasy 13-esque there. Okay, they're like Final Fantasy characters. They're equipped as visions, and at times you're comparing some of these older Final Fantasy characters to like some people comparing like personas or something. But these different visions include a bunch of different characters. Zidane, a Cloud, Squall. It's pretty cool to see these different visions pop up. I think unlocking them is going to be awesome. Okay, because they show moments from past Final Fantasy games, but not necessarily in the style. So I think something that contrast will really stand out. 30 40 hours over the main story, and there's basically significantly more if you want to do an entire 100% run from the Xbox Series, PlayStation 5, the Switch 2, and the PC. Unfortunately, this is a Switch 2 game card. I have to check to see if there's an upgrade path because then the play would be you get it on the Switch 1 on the cartridge and just like a little upgrade path to the Switch 2. If that isn't like October 22nd for this one. So I'm out there I like the idea of like an original. I know it's based on the mobile games lore, but an original built from the ground up HTTP Final Fantasy game. This is the first one. I don't think we're calling for Chrono Trigger to go in this style. I guess so, but I believe the Chrono Trigger is worthy of its own style. Completely. I don't think it's HTTP. I think that is a landmark game that Square really needs to think about how they're going to approach that. If they want to. But for Final Fantasy Resonance, I think it looks great. Let me know your thoughts on that one though, especially coming out of the presentation where it was shown. And if you're picking it up as we head towards holiday season. Before we go to the comment of the day, take a look at the poll that posted up yesterday. Where I asked, did you buy or receive a gift card for gaming platforms like PlayStation, Xbox, and things like that? Over last year, 61% saying no, 39% saying yes. I will say it's like way back in the day, the gift card was legitimately just a GameStop gift card, Walmart gift card. Sometimes it's Walmart now, but now I feel like it's just much more prevalent to get the stocking stuffer or the birthday card, you know, like a Steam gift card or an Xbox one or something like that. So the physical gift card go away for Steam. I do think that's a big deal for the mainstream people as like tuned in and like I'll go to the web portal and get a code and print it out. And there's more steps than that, like that immediate purchase, that impulse buy of okay, here's the I'm done. Just $100 Steam gift card, throw it in the birthday card, and I'm out. Right? I honestly buy the reasoning of oh, it's just because scammers. I think there's something else at play. Someone mentioned the idea that there's like the ID verification stuff that's happening and having a gift card that can be purchased at the register is one more way for an account to stay anonymous. I guess that's part of it, but I don't think it seems weird and feels kind of out left field. And we'll finish up the comments of the day. Here's for all the news says the game costs more than $60. A demo is expected, and let's decide if it is worth it most of the time. They aren't worth it. You know, I would like to see going forward. This is where I figure cloud gaming or cloud streaming could really be effective. So for a demo, studio developer, whoever has to provide that demo. So not all of them will because like it's very workable. But I like the idea of maybe something with the next Xbox. Cloud streaming is also coming. Maybe there's a way where they set it up and they go, hey, look, you can with your game, you can maybe have a start endpoint or just a spot where they start the demo. It's time and just cloud stream. They don't download anything. Now they just try to get out and see what they think. So you place them at level 3, just past the beginning opening part, and you think it's a spot kind of context because like action there, it's like a third person shooter or something. They just try to get out that way. That would be really cool. That was system level and just something that I think really help customers and make decisions. By the time for publishers, they can hard decisions. So you're right that not all of them want to, but I think it would just make the overall buying experience like, significantly better. Hit a button and just start the section of the game for X amount of time, so you can actually try it. So ladies and gentlemen, that's a video for you. Maybe enjoy this video, guys. Like this, like, kind of download everything. Stop here. If you missed yesterday's news, I'll leave it up here on a card. Or maybe you hear about how the situation between Microsoft and Sony getting kind of messy with the Xbox reveals being pulled as it plays or Gamescom feels like it'd be canceled. I know they'll be looking at that really quickly. Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning 80 time for news.
You want to find what makes you so unique to you. There are just so many applicants that have the same task, right? They have high GPA and they did this, and all these things, and all these awards. So what makes you unique to you? And I think a lot of people on their college applications are like, oh, I want to be SCR because they have this program for you. There's this professor I can do research. That's great. I'll remember you. Maybe you know what you want from the school. But the entire point of your college application is you need to sell yourself to the school. Why should this school accept you over someone else? And this is the entire mindset that I have when I was writing my SCR application. And I think that helps me a lot. So I thought about what unique characteristics do I bring as a human being to Stanford and to the culture and to the community. And I would recommend writing like very niche topics in your application.
Meet someone in TF2. They kill mine.
Yep.
I kill mine as well. Funniest shit ever.
What is kill binding? It's when you bind a key to kill, or sometimes the exploit command. When you die in a Soul Surfing game, in this case Team Fortress 2, your player model turns into a ragdoll and collapses on the floor. While other games have similar systems for ending your life in game, this is something that feels unique to Team Fortress 2. If ever Soul Surfing games don't really have the same kind of culture of turning your dead body into a funny ragdoll. But why do we kill bind? Because it's funny stuff, that's why. It's great to kill bind halfway through a team fight, or start a kill bind chain. It's part of Tier 2's culture and unspoken communication between players. Across teams, maybe even across games at time. Kill binding can also let you see areas of the map you're not supposed to be. As dying in Tier 2 converts your player into a ragdoll, but the camera still follows. In previous videos I've shown areas appear and most of does. Another example includes Blue Swarm or Moss Rock. I guarantee there's a lot more that people will mention in the comments, because they love proving me wrong. That's just Team 2. Using a similar concept, I tried to make a Plinko map with the idea of kill bind over a kit, let your ragdoll score points, but sadly none of the triggers in Tier 2 can detect ragdolls. Only the ammo pack and the gun the player drops. But if you're new to Team Fortress 2, you might not know how to do this. So here's a quick guide on how to set up a key to make you die in a video game. If you haven't already, enable console and options by clicking on advanced options and ticking the box for console.
versatility. That's the way you line normally on the top left of the keyboard. Bring up the console, type the following line, insert your keyboard key here. Kill. Another option is bind keyboard key, explode. I personally use the insert key on my numpad, but K is a pretty common option. Now push enter to confirm. Next, let's test it out. Type map to Fortland, everyone's favorite map, and push your down key to test. If it doesn't work, then double check you type everything correctly. Remember the down key needs to be in quotation marks and not the command. Now enjoy your newfound power. All this stuff's about pushing the funny ragdoll button has me thinking a bit. Team Fortress 2 came out in 2007. In some ways, it's the last popular arena shooter. And while modding is more tricky these days, it's still possible to change your games in ways unintended. Something I don't like about a lot of modern games is players losing control of their character. Kind of a big deal in a first-person shooter. Players are the characters. When people play Sniper Tier 2, they don't just play the Tier 2 Sniper, they're playing the edgy OC Tier 2 Sniper. It's really shocking how much is being taken away from the player for the sake of making the next big hyper comp-friendly game. I don't remember thinking half-play ragdolls. But when rocket jumping is an all game is something you can control with precision and learn compared to some modern games which maybe you have a special charge up ability with cooldowns like do a big jump. Deal, I guess. Kill bind and kill bind often. It's one of those things that make TF2 special in one era, everything streamlined and sanitized to boring perfection. TF2 is an old game. Its bumps and its flaws are what makes it special. Now go die in a video game. On purpose. Oh no, I'm about to die. Whoa.
The core tension on this is that we want to communicate as clearly as possible about what we're doing, while not having all of the details of things that we think are going to be strategically differentiating league community to these two competitors. And so I think part of the challenge is like, we're a big company, we push stuff publicly, it leaks, some things matter more to the others. As we listen to the audio, alright people, it's time for a passion napping. I hope that you're buckled in and sitting down because this is going to be a bit intense. Now I want you to look right here. You see this YouTube video? I'm not going to play that.
The
core tension on this is that we want to communicate as clearly as possible about what we're doing, while not having all of the details of things that we think are going to be strategically differentiating league community to these two competitors. And so I think part of the challenge is like, we're a big company, we push stuff publicly, it leaks, some things matter more to the others. As we listen to the audio, alright people, it's time for a passion napping. I hope that you're buckled in and sitting down because this is going to be a bit intense. Now I want you to look right here. You see this YouTube video? I'm not going to play that YouTube video because apparently someone has already banned DMCA for showing any targets, so I'm not going to have it happen. But here's a quote from that video. Now it's actually leveled up again to the next abstraction where I don't prompt Claude anymore. Now what the heck are we talking about? Well, this is Boris, so Anthropic, the man who started or created Claude Code, talking about his coding habits. Now 6 months ago he uninstalled his IDE and now he doesn't even prompt Claude anymore. Okay, prompting Claude is the old way we do things. Now I set a goal, I let it run until it burns just a gajillion tokens until a win condition is met. Bada bing, bada boom, we're done with it. Okay, none of this hand coding, you gross, none of this prompting. Also, and also gross. Okay, we loop. And the quote goes on. I have loops that are run A are the ones that are prompting Claude and kind of figuring out what to do. My job is to write loops. And this is the kind of next transition I think we're going to see in the next few months, maybe for the rest of the year. Now this quote was said and everybody, wow, deep insight. And everybody kind of clapped about it. And if you haven't been following Boris's journey, he's also said a little while back, coding is mostly solved. Now he just says coding is solved. And even more, he says coding is the easy part. Hard parts like infrastructure or hardware or listening to users or getting feedback. Those are parts. Coding easy peasy, it is solved, lemon squeezy, not a big issue. Now I take a little bit of issue. Okay, in fact, I would like to say that I take a lot of issue with that. And let me kind of build up a case, and I'm going to explain to you why I think they're all lying. I think they are all lying to you, and I know that's going to ruffle some feathers. So first off, you need to see this tweet right here because it's very important. That's part of this entire concept. This is Anthropic saying, hey, we've greatly accelerated. We've asked, we are stronger. We're better than we've ever been before. In fact, in this last quarter, Q2 2026, we are shipping 8x the amount of code per employee than we were on the average before 2025. In other words, they are shipping 2 years worth of code every single quarter, every single employee. Hence the reason why coding is easy part. Coding is solved, bro. We don't write no. Okay, we prompt the prompters. Right, big difference. We write loops. We do not code ourselves. Review code. It's all done automatically. Maybe for the future here. So when I say they are lying, what I mean is either A, they are intentionally lying to you, or B, they so believe what they say that even in the face of contrary evidence, they're not correct. I know I am right. It doesn't know the sky is in fact not blue. No, it's not. Will not accept it. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Right, pass me by the way. I get even more passionate. So you're welcome. I have been using linear lately. Now, to the main thesis. I think they are lying, and I think that they're hurting people. I think they're genuinely hurting people. First off, I get lots of messages about people genuinely worried about the future. Hey, maybe there's no room for me left. Hey, I think everything's going to be destroyed. People's jobs are becoming this really frustrating experience where they just have people eating code in production. There's absolutely no control because this is what they've been told to do. Run the loop, code the coders, just let it run, let it buy. So just on a personal level, people are feeling really burnt out and freaked out. At least that's the general gist that I'm getting from a ton of people. This has not been so good, and a lot of people's well-being and kind of their outlook in life has actually gone very negative. I think what Anthropic and more specifically Boris is doing is very destructive. Now I know I'm going to get, hey man, Boris, he's a nice guy. Okay, like in person, very, very nice. You know what? I'm sure you're right. In person, humble and nice. But here's the deal: humble and nice people can do bad things. Now let me make a case to you why I think that they are lying. I think it's very, very obvious. So the first thing you have to understand is that Claude Code was released for researchers in February 2025. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Claude Code is a little terminal application in which you can prompt go and do some agentic work and produce code. All right, well, within 2 weeks of releasing that, GitHub issue 392. Hey, well, screen flickering. A little bit afterwards, April 11, 2025, in progress. Screen flickering, everybody. And this continues on 1913. Terminal flickering, just like so many other issues devoted to terminal flickering. It's almost as if Anthropic thought people need a little bit more epileptic training so they can watch their favorite animes. But nonetheless, this is a very well-known issue, and it was reported almost immediately upon research release, meaning that this bug most likely existed not even in 2025, potentially in 2024, while it was all being developed, and they actively knew about it. It's my personal guess. If you use the product at all during that time period, it was so evident. I remember having my own experiences with it, being shocked people even use the product at all. Well, let's fast forward a little bit. They finally responded to it publicly December 17th, 2025, and I quote, we've rewritten Claude Code's terminal memory system to reduce flickering by roughly 85%. Now, first off, that's impressive. I have never ever in my lifetime seen a bug fix that only works 85% of the time. What kind of stochastic process is going on out there? Like, that is insane. And they go on to explain how difficult it was. They're building a game engine, brothers, to render some text to a terminal. This was said out loud a couple days later, December 18th. We're rolling back a few changes we shipped to Claude Code this week to make sure things are stable heading into the holidays. In other words, their hey, coding is largely solved. Turns out it's not largely solved. Now, you're probably wondering why my heart is so hard on the screen flickering issue. I was reading 1.9 months at that point. Why my heart is so hard on it. Here's the thing: screen flickering, that's a pure software problem. There's no hardware involved in this. Okay, there's no the infrastructure wasn't quite right. Oh, the capacity, you just didn't have the capacity for non-flickering terminal experience. No, it's the user feedback. You just didn't have the feedback. You didn't know. Users didn't like flickering. Now, they were well aware. They probably even prioritized the flickering, considering they also did the whole rewriting of the rendering system. But ultimately, the first swing of the rewrite failed. They failed right after Christmas, and they had the whole out. And so, hey, is software largely solved? I'm not buying it currently. Here's the thing: if the story ended there, maybe we can move on. But okay, March 25th, 2026. Now we are officially over a year into first known reported issue on GitHub. Over a year. Just let that sink in. Over a year of the terminal flickering text characters laid out in a grid. Couldn't help but to flicker. I feel crazy that this is a crazy hard problem. No, this cannot. I refuse to believe that this is that hard of a problem. Guess what? It was finally asked. Please fix the uncontrollable scrolling / flickering for the next 3,000 features. People were sick of it. And on April 1st, not as a joke, Boris releases no flicker mode for Claude Code. This is that new rendering that they talk about. So Claude Code, no flicker. I believe it takes advantage of alternate screen as opposed to doing this reference down to the red. It does take a little bit more effort to get right. Whereas alternate mode, that's how it works. Right? It's beautiful. I love it. Okay, talking about Vim. I think some praises about Justin and his running company. But that's the thing. I want you once again to think about this. This was only 2 months and a little bit change ago, and they still haven't fixed flickering. It's been over a year, and they have a feature branch or a feature-led feature in which solves flickering by a completely different path. Now, think about it. If coding is solved, do you need feature branches? No, you don't. Somebody's lying to you. Because coding is easy, coding is solved. No, you don't need that. Who is telling the truth right now? Because it does not seem like Anthropic or Boris is leading you to the correct path. I don't know if they're actually actively lying to you, but in my head, I feel like they are. To me, it seems apparent that I think they are liars. Now, lastly, we get all the way up to May 27 with Claude Dev's official account even saying, hey, guess what? We're stopping everybody now. New terminal, Robin, this is the official Claude Dev account saying, hey, we're dropping the big deal. But even more so, if you scroll a little bit down, you'll see this. Viewer mysterious error messages. They have error messages in a product that they're just like, I don't know. I guess it's not working right now. We're not really sure what the heck's happening. Are you kidding me? Yo, bro, why don't you launch a loop? Why don't you launch a loop like 6 months ago? Write a loop and fix that. Don't have a mysterious error. Let people know. Oh, whoopsies. Turns out the connection terminated. Would you like to try again, or would you like to start over? Oh, hey, whoopsies. It turns out that you're out of credit. Sorry, you can't continue. There's only so many problems here. Hey, problems in the air. Loop it, brother. Anyways, I say all this because even as I'm confused about this entire thing, Boris even responds to me saying, coding is the easy part. Everything else is not yet solved. But it's also becoming increasingly automated. Saying coding is solved, the easy part. And yet during all this, it just feels like they have an abundance of obvious failures. And if you just look at the Claude status is like at 98% up, and they're having just errors elevated with this. Not errors with this. Not like they're not like, oh, we ran out of capacity. Sorry, overloaded with requests. No, it's like, oh, there's actually errors. For the last year, you can see GitHub issues, Reddit posts, Hacker News posts saying, okay, I was prompting, and it looks like I got somebody else's feedback, or I got somebody else's prompt result, something like a legal document. But there's none of us are talking about legal documents. What's going on? There's this whole thing where people are using them, leaking other people's session. I'm not even saying they are or they aren't, but this is some crazy hallucination case, but they can't and don't know how to solve that issue. They don't even really know what's happening with that one because it continues to happen. And so it's like, yes, is coding hard? Sure, coding can be hard. That's okay to say. No, nobody's going to be upset about that. Have we accelerated the rate in which we can produce code? Yes. Have we accelerated the rate in which we can produce more correct code? Do we have tools in which can help people write code? Sure. Yes, beautiful, glorious. Knock yourself out. But this idea that everybody should be writing loops, everybody should be spending $10,000
day on my company. Salesman selling his items and just telling everybody this is the way it should be when they get their tokens free and unlimited while at the exact same time making demonstrably false claims drives me bonkers, and I just have to talk about it because they, in my opinion, they're lying to your face. They are peeing on your leg and saying it's ring. I can hear it right now. That's why I said. Anyways, that's the video. That's what I wanted to say. Hey, the name is the prime. I'm a chud, I'm a fat little chud. Wouldn't seem like the type of lyrics to go mainstream, but here we are in 2026, and musicians are adapting a song into an instrument of choice. The PlayStation is responsible for its creation, posting it on the 15th of April this year and garnering millions of views in the process. Since then, it's seen insane levels of spread, jumping from edit to edit and clip to clip as a song for all self-professed chuds out there. What's interesting is that the meaning of chud has diluted over the years. Originally, it was from a 1987 horror movie of the same name. Then it became slandered for a far-right person, typically associated with the West is fallen, billions must die, chud jack with glasses. Also associated with the nothing ever happens trend, and now it's been conflated with words such as chungus, like with fuck my chungus life, becoming fuck my chud life. The definition seems to have broadened to adhere to the lyrics of the song, with the meaning of chud becoming more of a basement to a 4chan type than any specific political affiliation, or maybe it's become associated more with the word chode, as the body type and shape of place placed on the screen alongside the song seem to fit that particular description. The song created by the West Station is definitely accelerating these changes, as most of the lyrics more or less describe the life beneath living with their mum and being a Discord mod. It's the perfect representation of how gaming can evolve as its existence becomes spread thin over millions of different communities, until it's almost unrecognizable from its original intent. Beforehand, covers and songs that use the word chud would often include slurs, alluding to being an incel, and far more extreme lyrics. So this particular song sounds relaxing and calm, and many claim that makes the lifestyle sound appealing. Crazy animations of cuddly animals only broaden the appeal of being a chud, gaining millions of views and only making the song more and more accessible to mainstream audiences. So I wouldn't be surprised if future generations have a completely different understanding of what it means compared to now. Essentially, the West Station song about being a chud has irrevocably diluted the original meaning of the word, as it has been adopted across the mainstream audience, demonstrating how meme culture manages to organically mutate certain ideas via entertaining trends. What memes do you guys like? Games Box, mostra a produção da loja nova era. Link na descrição. Meu livro de fantasia 100% original está em pré-venda. Reserve a bruxa do guarda-chuva agora mesmo. Link na descrição. Bem-vindo ao Sul. E fala aí pra gente o que você pretende fazer quando se aposentar. Vai fazer uma coleção de gatos, vai cuidar de planta ou vai jogar muito videogame? Pois é, o site Games Industry fez um artigo muito interessante falando sobre videogame na terceira idade e sobre aposentados que jogam videogame. Como que está esse mercado ainda muito mal explorado. Vou deixar o link na matéria na descrição se você quiser ver ela todinha, mas já aí alguns dados bem bacanas. E no Reino Unido, os aposentados, né, pessoas acima de 55 anos, e aqui vamos para um disclaimer, tá? A matéria considera assim, aposentado e tal, pessoas acima de 55 anos. A gente sabe que na nossa realidade, em muitos países, muita gente não vai se aposentar com 55 anos e também não vai estar com essa situação tranquila financeira, né, que a gente espera estar quando chegar na aposentadoria, que é conseguir pagar as continhas tranquilo, viver a vida sossegado, né, e de boa só com o que você juntou durante a vida toda. Então é essa a ideia que eles têm de aposentar na matéria, tá? Daí a gente vê e adapta pra nossa realidade. Mas enfim, eles falaram que em muitos países, como os Estados Unidos, Japão e no Reino Unido, que é onde eles levantaram mais esses dados, o número de pessoas com mais de 55 anos que estão jogando videogame está aumentando a cada ano, né? Então, em 2020 teve 6,53 milhões de pessoas, 6,87 em 2021 e em 2022 aqui reduziu para 6,29. Eu fiquei me perguntando o que teve de diferente aqui, né, pra dar essa queda, mas teve a Covid, não sei se teve alguma coisa a ver. Mas enfim, tá? Até 2026 o parcial tá 6,74 e estima-se que em 2031 já vão ser 7,32 milhões de pessoas acima de 55 anos de idade que vão estar jogando videogame lá no Reino Unido. Isso é mais de 10% da população total daquela região. Aí eu sei que muitos de vocês vão falar, mas eles ficam jogando celular, eles ficam jogando Candy Crush, e é exatamente esse o ponto que a matéria levanta. O pessoal com mais idade aposentada e tal querem jogar videogame, mas os videogames que estão sendo feitos hoje em dia não estão para as pessoas dessa idade, dessa geração. Segundo a matéria, a indústria só tá fazendo videogame para os jovens. Aqui eu tenho uma discordância que eles também estão fazendo para adultos, né, de 20, 35 anos, 40 anos, nessa faixa tem bastante jogo saindo também. Mas passou disso aí, 45, 50, realmente a gente não vê muita coisa saindo para esse pessoal. E aí o que eles fazem jogar Candy Crush no celular. E o mercado de games está comendo muito com essa tendência e não está faturando com algo que está óbvio que poderia dar bons lucros, né? Inclusive, aqui no Senado diz que a indústria tá, né, encolhendo, tá tendo prejuízo em vários segmentos e não vê um outro segmento lá que tá dando muito lucro para eles e os caras simplesmente não exploram. Eles vão explorar só daqui a 10 anos depois de que a tendência já foi embora. E não é bem como se de repente os tiozinhos velhinhos quisessem jogar videogame. Outra coisa interessante, quem cresceu jogando videogame lá no começo dos anos 80, finalzinho dos anos 70, hoje já tá nessa faixa aí de 50, 55 anos. Um moleque de 10 anos que jogava lá em 1980, hoje vai estar com 56 anos de idade. Tem alguns youtubers que são bem conhecidos aí, que já passaram, estão nessa faixa também. Eu não vou colocar o Brasil aqui, sei lá se os caras não vão lá, mas eu vou botar um gringo que é bem conhecido aí, né, pelo pessoal que curte videogame no Brasil, assiste conteúdo do exterior, que é o Johnny Millennium, do canal Happy Console Gamer. Eu gosto muito dele, é um dos únicos seguidores que tem nas gringas. Ele joga videogame desde os 8 bits, pegou todas as gerações a partir disso e agora está com 52 anos de idade. E ele vai mostrar o que tá jogando, ele tem o quadro do canal dele, né, o que eu estou jogando, ele coloca um monte de jogo lá, os últimos que ele pegou, e já dá pra ver que ele tá pegando só jogo assim mais de senhorzinho, sabe? Jogo de narrativa, RPG, umas coisas mais calma, mais tranquila. E aí que entra a questão, mas o que é fazer jogo para os velhos, para os seniors, os aposentados? Primeira coisa é que muito jogo nem precisa assim, se transformar para atender um público de mais idade, é só ter acessibilidade. Eu vou ter que mostrar pra vocês um dos melhores jogos do ano, que tem uma relação paternal bem gostosa entre o Will, né, o astronauta e a Diana, a robozinha. E só isso daí já é um atrativo bem grande para jogadores adultos e seniors também. Ele veio com uma seleção de acessibilidade muito boa e nem é a melhor acessibilidade que a gente tem nos jogos ultimamente. Então aqui a gente consegue controlar tudo, layout, velocidade do controle, a câmera tem inúmeros ajustes, principalmente para não ter problema de enjoo, né, espaçamento de cores, interface para você poder colocar mais informações na tela, deixar o jogo mais intuitivo, aumentar as letras, os botões, o tamanho deles na tela, porque o negócio a gente vai ficando cuidado aí, a gente vai no saco, tem um letrinho desse tamanho pra TV, a gente não enxerga mesmo, né? Então todas essas coisas a gente vai poder controlar aqui nas opções do jogo, e aí a parte de acessibilidade, ele tem pacotes próprios para pessoas específicas, por exemplo, tem problema em jogo movimento, se eu jogar isso aqui sem nenhum ajuste de acessibilidade, eu vou vomitar, beleza? Ele tem aqui na acessibilidade, em jogo movimento, a opção só clica aqui, ele já aplica todas as opções para reduzir esse desconforto na hora, bem simples, bem intuitivo. Mas mesmo com essa possibilidade de colocar acessibilidade, a gente vai ficando velho, pode ser que alguns tipos de jogos simplesmente não seja mais possível de jogar ou então confortável de jogar. Por exemplo, na matéria falou de um senhor que tinha 57 anos e disse que eu não conseguia jogar mais de 30 minutos, um jogo mais agitado, porque ficava com dores nas mãos. Aí as artrose, artrite, vai cobrar o preço também, né? E eu também tenho um relato interessante sobre isso, que é com mais de alguns amigos meus, que ele jogava desde a era do Mega Drive, ele comprava fita do Mega Drive falando que era pros filhos dele e ele mesmo jogava desde a era. Ele joga videogame direto, né? E agora tá com seus 70 anos, mais ou menos. Eu fui alguns meses na casa deles pra dar churrasquinho, me convidaram lá e tal, eu fui ver o pai dos meus amigos, ele tava no PlayStation 4 tentando jogar o Diablo 4. Detalhe, ele tinha jogado todos os outros Diablo, mas no Diablo 4 ele tava totalmente empacado. Cheguei lá e tava com o controle na mão, tava sabendo direito o que fazia, né? E eu fui conversar com ele, perguntei o que ele queria fazer. Ele, não, eu quero usar aquele machado ali, eu tenho um machado mó da hora, mó legal, mas eu não tô conseguindo usar ele. Porque ele tava jogando com um barco que usa 4 armas e o machado que ele tava usando, ele tava querendo usar uma mão e não tava, tinha que usar na outra. E aquele machado ainda tava totalmente zoado nas habilidades dentro do que ele tava querendo fazer. Ele tinha que procurar uma outra arma pra colocar e colocar outras armas ainda nos slots que ele tinha sobrando das armas do barco. Aí eu passei umas coisas pra ele, ensinei algumas coisas, ele conseguiu começar a jogar, entendeu um pouquinho mais, ficou animado, foi lá, pra brincar com o Diablo 4. Mas eu fiquei pensando, putz, depois vai ter a árvore de skill, né, do jogo, que é complicado pra caramba. E depois disso vai ter o Aragon, que é mais complicado pra caramba ainda. Se ele teve problema só pra equipar a arma, imagina quando chegasse nessas partes mais avançadas. Realmente, Diablo 4 é um jogo proibitivo pra pessoas a partir de eu não vou dizer uma determinada idade específica, né, porque cada um envelhece de um jeito e num ritmo. Mas pra algumas pessoas, né, realmente é impossível jogar isso, e Diablo 4 nem é o mais complicado nessa categoria dos RPGs de ação, né? Se você for pegar o Bethesda, até a gente joga aí, desistiu do jogo porque era muito zoado as árvores de habilidade, imagina uma pessoa sênior aí com mais idade. Então realmente, conforme vai avançando a idade, pode ser que um tipo de jogo ou um título específico já não seja mais tão legal, tão confortável de jogar, e a gente precisa acabar abandonando, né? E o pessoal que já tá na frente, acima de 55 anos, também já não joga esse tipo de coisa. Então o que eles jogam? Afinal, o pessoal que não tá lá no Candy Crush no celular. Então tem sim alguns estilos que agradam muito esse tipo de pessoa. Primeiro de todos, o tal do cozy game, os jogos confortáveis, eles dizem, né, que tá saindo pra caramba esse tipo de jogo ultimamente. São jogos mais tranquilos, mais serenos, que não exigem reflexo, tomadas de decisão complicadas, builds avançadas, nem nada disso. São jogos que você só curte e relaxa enquanto tá brincando com eles. Também gosto de jogos mais casuais e olha só, jogos retrô, tá certo, né? Você esperar que uma pessoa lá que cresceu jogando pegando outras gerações, vai gostar dos jogos das antigas, aqueles que remetem à infância, à adolescência. Mas os jogos lá da geração Nintendinho, né, Mega Drive, Super Nintendo, principalmente Mega Drive, mas Super Nintendo, eram jogos bem difíceis, que exigiam bastante reflexo, coisa que o sênior já não tem muito. Aí eles vão jogar o que é RPG, jogam muito RPG antigo. Mas quando eu falo de retrô, eles não estão falando só de jogos realmente antigos, falam de jogos estilo retrô, que são jogos pixelados ou jogos 3D, mais low poly, com menos botões pra apertar, jogos mais simples, com comandos mais simples, menus e habilidades, árvores de habilidade mais simples, né? Você não tem que fazer uma faculdade pra aprender a usar o controle e ler um livro pra aprender a fazer a build do teu personagem. Esse tipo de jogo tá agradando bastante a galerinha mais velha também. Inclusive, minha publisher, a Nutos Games, sempre tá
lançando jogos desse estilo aí, jogos brasileiros, mais um cara de retrosão e com uma pegada de gameplay mais direta. A gente tem aqui, lançado mês passado, o Alien Strike, que é um jogo de tiro, andar e atirar, running gun, bem estilo os jogos lá da Mega Drive, Super Nintendo mesmo. Mais tarde vai ser pra console, por enquanto tem para o PC, link na descrição, confere lá se você curtiu e joga também. Baratinho. Essas coisas de cozy game, casual, retro game, tem algumas razões. Primeiro, porque eles não precisam de uma máquina turbinadaça pra jogar isso. Eles conseguem, não precisam de um console super atual também, né? Vocês podem pegar um console mais antigo ou um PC mais barato, mais simples. Galerinha vai ter isso aqui, ó, os retroportáteis. Apesar que esse meu aqui é piratão, né? Mas lá na Europa, nos Estados Unidos, tem várias marcas de portáteis desse estilo com jogos licenciados mesmo. E esses aparelhos vendem lá muito bem pra galera sênior. E aí que a gente vê quem que está na frente nessa tendência. A Atari já tem vários desses aparelhos. A Blaze, que tem o Evercard falando recentemente no vídeo aqui do canal, né? Que é um aparelho retrô que tem fitinha, né? Cartucho e tudo mais. E os desenvolvedores que estão fazendo esses tais de cozy game, que galera mais jovem tem um pessoal com preconceito gigante com esses cozy game, mas eles vendem pra caramba. Todo mundo tem um pouco mais de sossego ou não tá afim de gastar tantas habilidades assim pra jogar videogame. Mas quer jogar videogame, recorre aos cozy games. E realmente vou concordar com a matéria lá que se a indústria não acordar logo pra esse público, né? Eles vão perder uma grana boa, porque primeiro que esse público já aumenta a cada ano. Cada ano que passa vai ter mais um senhorzinho, senhorazinha aí de 55 anos mais, né? E eles estão pegando uma outra geração. Agora, a galera aí dos 55 anos é aqueles que jogavam mais um pouquinho pra frente, já vai ser o pessoal do Nintendinho, do Mega Drive. Videogames que estavam vendendo lá na casa de dezenas de milhões de peças. Então o público vai aumentar pra caramba. Fora que essa faixa aí que a gente viu de 10% mais ou menos aí, a população do Reino Unido, que tem mais de 55 anos de idade, que já estão jogando, dá pra dizer que tem ainda uma população dormente, que ainda não voltou para os videogames. Qualquer ser humano lá começou a jogar videogame com 10 anos de idade, jogou pra caramba uns 20 anos, 25, 30 anos, a vida já pegou ele lá, casou, fez filho, tem que cuidar da família, emprego lá, tem que trabalhar até tarde, fazer especialização, curso, daí já não tem mais hora livre que tem, vai cuidar da família, atenção pra família, todas essas coisas, só no videogame, para de jogar videogame, nos 30, nos 40, nos 50, aí nos 30, né, quando o filho tá grande, espera-se, né, que já fez faculdade, né, já não dá mais despesa, vai morar sozinho em outro lugar, vai na casa também, já que tua casa, já que tua casa, lembrando, né, no cenário ideal, aquele perfeito, né, então ele volta a ter tempo livre e dinheiro pra gastar. Esse aí é o público contrário do que a gente tem de antes, porque quando é jovem tem tempo, mas não tem dinheiro, vocês sabem dessa, né, quando é adulto tem dinheiro, mas não tem tempo pra jogar videogame. Depois dos 50, 55 anos, tem a grana que tem o tempo, é o melhor consumidor possível para entretenimento, videogame e tudo mais. E eu vejo que no canal mesmo, de vez em quando, tem uma outra pessoa que comenta, né, que parou de jogar videogame, que gosta de assistir os games que eu faço, gosta de ver eu falando de videogame, mas ele mesmo não joga mais nada, ou porque não tem tempo, ou porque já não tem mais validade, não tem mais paciência, não tem mais tesão pra pegar um videogame e jogar. E é muito bacana ver que tem desenvolvedores de videogame, tem pessoas estudando o mercado justamente pra esse tipo de pessoa. E no futuro bem próximo, a gente pode ter muito mais material, jogos sendo lançados pensando aí pra galera de 55 mais. Eu ainda tô 44, vai levar 11 anos pra eu chegar nessa faixa. Mas tô feliz que quando eu chegar lá, provavelmente vai ter bastante coisa pra. Se você gostou desse assunto ou acha que ainda vai estar patinando Dark Souls com 60 anos de idade, deixa aqui no comentário pra nós, não se esqueça de clicar no gostei pra cá, pra no vídeo, e mais importante, inscreva-se para acompanhar os lançamentos. Eu tô por aqui, nos vemos no próximo vídeo. Falou! Steam is perhaps the most lucky platform to exist since the PlayStation 2. What if I told you that just a few clicks away from the home screen there was a world you didn't know about? A world full of old locked forums, robot engagement, and some very strange gamers to me. Join me as I take you through Steam's dirty little secret known as the community page. So if you hover over the community tab and you're a Counter-Strike player, you're going to immediately click the market button and not even read the others. If you're not a gambling addict that likes to treat his 12K lobbies like they're major finals, then you'll notice that there's a total of 5 tabs on the community dropdown. Home, discussions, workshop, market, and broadcasts. First, let's talk about the homepage. And if you scroll down, you'll see nothing too crazy, some guides, some reviews, some screenshots, pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. So let's narrow it down a bit and look at the screenshots tab. And at first glance, this appears to be normal, but the moment you take a closer look, things start to appear off. Take this for example. This just looks like a pretty standard screenshot from the long dark. So you look in the bottom right and see that it has 262 likes, 20 awards, and over 200 comments. The first thing that we see when we click on this, other than the screenshot itself, are comments from the past couple of hours, mostly emojis, but some have links to other pictures on Steam. We can see that the screenshot was posted in February of 2023, a full 3 years and some change ahead of the recording. So why is it getting comments and likes 3 years after posting? And I wish our boy Kurt here was the only one that had something like this. That would make this easy to figure out, but there's hundreds, if not thousands, of posts just like this. So as I got to thinking and looking through dog-awful profiles for a few hours, I came to the realization that maybe that's the point. The only thing these commenters have in common that I can see is that most of them have profiles that took a lot of effort to make. I want to make it clear for the non-Steam users that you don't just happen onto a profile that looks like this. You don't accidentally upload a guide with a GIF rotating your favorite bands as the image. You don't accidentally make this artwork using Steam emotes from the game Favors Alchemy. I'm not saying this to harass or make fun of these people. The opposite. In fact, I love that people use their Steam profiles to express random account I found as friends with a number 1 team level ever. I literally found this person's profile the day after their birthday and saw a ton of comments from their friends. How cool is that? Well, I can't look at this the same way knowing I came to this page from what looked like a generic random comment on a random screenshot. Like in the back of my head that this is truly just more automated internet point farming so that somebody can feel better about an online persona masquerading as positive community interaction. If you sort by most recent though, you do get real screenshots, or at the very least screenshots that have yet to be sent to the quote-unquote most popular page. I like this page because you can see the screenshots of people in game who just missed the actually good screenshot trying to find the F12 button. Some sucked, some don't. Let's move on. Artwork is what it sounds like. Artwork typically related to video games, mostly just images, but a few GIFs too. The most popular page is actually pretty nice with some actually cool fan art pieces and such. And even if it's stolen art that's engagement baited to manipulate the front page, it's cool to see artwork about video games, you know? My favorite thing about this page is that it gets slightly hornier with a splash of crusty memes until it's full on Rule 34 in this bitch, and I wish I was kidding. The most recent page is just this on shuffle mode. Next tab. I'm gonna be honest, after what I just saw, I'm not stoked to be on the broadcast tab, but I was lucky to find that it's largely just rebroadcast of the live streaming tab that plays on top of the store page when you click on a game sometimes. Some devs are going absolutely crazy with the hours broadcasted though. This game had a live broadcast for 15 hours, and I was on the low end. But dev can stream. I'm sure a real human can be streaming too. But after hours of searching, I really wasn't able to find anybody who was streaming, at least knowingly. I found a few people who were definitely in game at the same time they were streaming, but I'd either get a waiting for broadcast to start message, or if I didn't, I'd get no interaction with them at all. It's here that I realized that a lot of the broadcasts with 0 viewers would eventually start if I just sat and waited long enough. After looking at the broadcast settings, there's one that allows for anybody to view your stream, and if you open a game, you get a notification that anybody can view your stream. While this explains some of the accounts, the vast majority still seem to be bot accounts set up to infinitely stream whatever game they're promoting at the time. It's also a bit unsettling that a guy like me can just click into whatever game you were playing right now if you have the wrong setting enabled. I do think that this is a good streaming service that puts out quality video and audio onto the already existing Steam interface. And I mean, I like some of the Valve games. I like some of the Gaga songs. So I'm left wondering why Steam broadcast really never took off. Anyways, guys, catch me live at steamcommunity.com/broadcast/7891212. This literally just links to YouTube videos. It's not that cool. You have the same thing as the screenshots with botted engagement in the comments. You know what the workshop is. It's mods and stuff. Fun facts for all the youngins out there. Back in 2015, Valve and those rinky-dink corporate gonks over at the place where Skyrim was made teamed up to offer Steam users something truly special. Paid versions of previously free mods for games. I won't dive into this much, but what I will do is link a blog written in 2015 from Lemmy 101, one of the co-creators of Project Zomboid, talking about this, as I think it's a truly insightful look into the feel of the gaming ecosystem in this time. It also discusses the pros, cons, and incentive structures aligned with having a paid modding ecosystem. You should read it, but first. The second tab in our dropdown is the discussions, also known as the Steam forums. You're greeted on this page with a bunch of links to specific game forums, and if you scroll down a bit, you'll see larger Steam discussion threads, as well as threads for specific Steam features. For example, if you click into the suggestions/ideas forum, you'll find this pinned thread asking for games and movies you'd like to see on Steam. There's a few weird things about this thread. To start, it says it was posted in January of 2015, but the first available comment is from 2012. My guess here is that if you edited your post in the past, it would just change the posting date to that time time, rather than adding the caption at the bottom saying when you last edited it. Moving on to the comments just highlights the way discussions in the internet gaming sphere were moving around this time. This is the era of full-on erect hatred for Electronic Arts, as they have been exclusively launching their PC games on a largely hated and unoptimized origin.
Something big is happening. It is happening now. Serious origin across PC, mobile devices, and the web.
Which later was moved into the EA app that now runs in the background of games like Battlefield 6. I mean, this is the first year of back-to-back wins for Electronic Arts being the worst company in America, and I'm not even kidding. But we aren't here to talk about Mass Effect 3. We're here for the Steam forums, and looking around longer, it's more the same. Random threads with random questions, lots of people saying hi, but there's always a diamond in the rough. Take this thread, for example. Some guy asking for help with his games, freezing consistently with a few comments, all from 2012. Only for this guy coming 14 years later to bump the thread and it getting a few more comments before a Steam moderator locks the thread to prevent confusion. We see much of the same in game-specific threads, with typically a mix of game-specific moderators for those, as well as Valve moderators locking old threads. Remember the thread earlier asking for movies to put on the Steam? The person who originally posted the thread had a badge on their Steam profile that I'm sure most people haven't seen before, a retired community moderator badge. And here's the real history of the Steam forums. See, the Steam forums, as we've seen them so far, was launched in 2012, but Steam had forums before this, the Steam-powered user forums. As the official Steam client forums booted up, the Steam-powered forums got less and less engagement until 2017, where Valve decided to, out of the blue, redirect the user forum site to the official Steam forums unexpectedly. To say there was outrage is an understatement, and frankly, rightfully so. I mean, look at this comment to understand how people feel and the memories that they have attached to these forums. This guy talks about how the forums are a catalyst for tons of friends, even taking an overseas trip to visit them in America from, according to a Steam profile, Australia, literally across the world. Luckily, Valve reversed course and opened the original forums back up, allowing people to download various portions of site data. And thanks to the work of those archivists back in 2017, almost a decade later, we're still able to look at the user forums today, albeit with some broken links. But in their heyday in 2006, these forums were popping off, with some threads getting upwards of 250,000 views. And while that may not seem much for Steam standards, at this time you had to register a different account for the forums from your regular Steam account. As we go through the years of this website, we see the website develop as well, eventually adding forums for specific games and publishers as Steam itself continued to grow. As of 2011, the website had just under 500,000 members, with just over that amount of threads and over 6 million individual posts. Now, I want to say at this time that the threads were largely monitored by community moderators rather than customer support staff by Valve itself. With the launch of the official Steam forums or discussions page, Valve would change their stance on this, adding alongside the community moderators paid moderators as well. As the years passed and PC gaming kept growing, so did the forums, as well as past moderators realized taking precedent, resulting in most of the community moderators being inactive or offline. In 2022, Valve made the decision to retire the community moderator team, giving those who had served as moderators the retired moderator badge that got us on this whole tangent. And with it, the last dying flame of community moderation inside of Valve's own forums burns out. And while you can delete the forum, you can't delete the relationships made over decades, even if they are mostly virtual. Through my research, I found this Steam group called This Instant in a Moment. It's self-described as people who had frequented the now defunct off-topic forums, and a specific thread called This Instant in a Moment. What you see here is a still active community of people with threads of thousands of pages of comments spread out over the course of years, and people still talking to each other to this very day. But even if they are still together, it's not as if they're accepting new members to the group of dedicated users of a forum that was sunset almost 10 years at this point. And while you could say that moderation of a forum can be done by virtually anybody, it's not like community moderators were doing it for the fat paycheck. They did it because they had love for the video games they were playing and wanted to curate a space to talk about their shared interests with fellow gamer goblins. Not some guy at a desk trying to hit an arbitrary number so he has a chance to get promoted to shift lead at the customer service center. I can't blame Valve for doing this. As Steam continues to grow, the need for real moderation inside of these platforms is necessary, especially as they tee up to enter the more consumer market with the recent pushes in new hardware. At the same time, though, I can't help but feel this is emblematic of a larger trend of consolidation and eventual erasure of spaces that are controlled, curated, and nurtured by the people, rather managed by a company to ensure functionality but not friendliness. I'm not attacking Valve here or saying they did anything wrong, so quit typing so fast your keyboard's gonna break. Dude, quit. Stop it. I'm aware that most companies, if they had something like this, would have nuked it off the face of the earth years ago. And frankly, the fact that I'm even able to still look at a lot of these discussion posts over a decade later is a testament to what I feel many people commend Valve the most on, is their ability to make a quality product that lasts. I mean, go play Portal 2 again, dude. That's still a good game that could drive a fucking car if it wanted to. But a forum for discussion is not something that can just be put out once and left to its own devices with the occasional poking at it with a stick by the moderators. The current state of the majority of Steam-focused forums, there's limited mega threads about anything relevant aside from the few current forum posts relating to Steam hardware. This just results in threads getting limited to no engagement before inevitably getting pushed out of the front page and into the abyss, aside from a select few popular threads, and this is realistically true for most of the official Steam forum pages. The off-topic section is just a bloodbath of random hot-button issues, political programming, and dead threads that got no engagement. And I know I sound like a fucking madman on the eve of Y2K letting my grievances out about an internet forum, but frankly, I don't care as much if there were so many people using this thing consistently. What I'm trying to say is that if you take the community tab as a whole, the screenshots bot farmed up to the top, the stolen artwork also bought it to the top, the infinitely rerunning broadcasts, and frankly the current day forums that are littered with spam posts, rage bait, and seemingly at best impartial moderation, it feels as if community is the last thing you're going to find on this website, unless you like gambling. It truly sucks because I think the bones of all of these individual services are extremely exceptional, so I feel as if Valve has the platform to connect community with the games they're playing. I mean, Counter-Strike was born out of someone's love of Half-Life and spawned out of it not only an esports titan, but also a relatively small group of people on this planet who can connect and share their mutual love of peeking mid and twiddling their thumbs for the next 2 minutes. The same people who grew up loving Counter-Strike went on to make Valorant and Rainbow Siege and all sorts of games, and all of that came from a game about a scientist and an Iron Man suit. Well, I know the comments are going to say, oh, join the Discord or the subreddit if you're trying to talk about a game or something you like, and in most cases I think that's a good option, and I'm capable in admitting that a lot of this video is just me yearning for an internet that didn't feel like a cesspit of data harvesting, corporate sanitization, and algorithmic manipulation to the point where you can't believe anything you see is true. This is before the days of acute manipulation to push certain narratives. The days when Facebook and Twitter would literally stop showing you new posts if you didn't have any new posts from people that you decided you wanted to interact with. But maybe if there's anything I can learn from the Steam community tab is that community isn't going to find itself for you. There isn't a secret website to go to, a game to play, or a forum to post in. It takes effort, commitment, understanding even when you disagree with someone. It takes not minutes or days but years to form bonds that last over decades, even if they only ever exist digitally. While this may sound difficult, I'd like to remind you that this all originated from small user forums of a game company who at this time had released, if you're being generous, 4 different games, albeit successful games. That was the spark, but the fire that is the true heart of a community was tended to by not only the moderators but the users who decided to join. So I urge you all to take your passion and find others who enjoy the same things you do. And while I can't tell you exactly how to do that, this is what I'm going to do.
I'm going to play a few sounds and I want you to guess just what game and when it takes place. And when it takes place.
Like a PS1 game, some sort, I don't know. No idea. No.
Now, if you got those wrong, we're putting
That
you...
was close enough. I was thinking about Silent Hill, but I wasn't so sure. I could not really tell. Neither.
Now, if you got those wrong, we're putting you in the middle box in Hot Sun. Do these sounds place you anywhere? They really can't be visualized anywhere else except for their respective worlds, can they? These sounds are just so iconic and woven into their games, it's hard to imagine them with anything else. Here, I'll give you 3 more. Okay, I kind of lied when I said sound effects, because another factor of video games is music. A lot of times you'll hear a motif or sound cue to add into the reward player, or its detriment. This is something sorely lacking in the modern era. It's tough, but let me know what effects have stayed with you in recent years. I'm struggling to come up with some. And you can't pick a parrying sound, or else you're banned, because those are synonymous with just about everything. It's usually just a hard note playing, and that's about it. Realistically, we humans, unless you got a bad character builder or build depth, we humans can get connected to sounds, especially at an early age. It's developmental. The majority of our senses are built from the down to our bones, such as communication,
1 year ago.
Been better. How about you? Not bad. Good to hear. Goodbye.
warning, and of course, musical. By the way, I won't name everything in this video, but if you can guess it all, you'll get nothing. I really don't have anything to give you. I will like your comment. You get a big parasocial heart from Deranged Humor. But the basics of sound is to enhance. Is Halo CE still fun with the sound off? Yeah, of course. I play tons of games muted so I don't get in trouble with my parents. How much of an experience is lost for this, though? Finally get to the point of the video. And don't say, oh bro, it's all nostalgia. When I criticize your favorite game, Booger Man, I'm taking a look adventure for its horrible audio. No, I'm 23. I played most of these old iconic games in the past 7 years. And even now, I can see a contrast. Something very perplexing that I've been confronted with in modern gaming is how a lot of sounds are very mushy, like they're underwater. Like especially those in Marathon or Silent Hill 2 Remake, where they almost feel like they're overpowering one another and we're all fighting to be the head of the chorus of these sounds. And overall, they take something so obtuse in pursuit of something original, especially Marathon as well, where a lot of the sounds are just grating and they're loud and they're weird, but they're not original or even pleasant to listen to. And especially here at the start, listen to this section. I think what is the struggle of modern media and creating a sound library of original recognizable sounds boils down to a few things.
What the
Laziness, soullessness,
hell?
incompetence, maybe some of the most important of all, original recognizable sound.
What? And what? Why? God damn it.
Boils down to a few things.
Watch
Laziness,
this.
soullessness, incompetence, maybe some of the most important of all, stock
Why am
sounds.
I watching this?
The visual presentation and overall progression of the campaign is great, but sound design, yeah, as someone tells me sound effects, Metro's moments can often be quite difficult to take seriously.
The boss? Of course. That's what the boss is. I also like it. Okay, that's enough.
Part of me wants to get 4A break as there are maybe a couple dozen people working around the clock in an office that would look like a soccer, when other independent studios like New World Interactive have some of the best sound effects and FPS, and let's forget
The dreaded stock sounds, I know. And there are a few iconic ones. Modern games have been in the pursuit of iconic, characterful sounds designed to favor realistic but forgettable stock audio. Because it's cheaply produced on mass by a company, all you gotta do is license it. The industry is sacrificing soul and memorability for convenience and professionalism. Ooh, it's very realistic. Okay, realism also does not trump style. A lot of modern games also use the same asset shots, filling their games with photoreal stand-in items. Most games play there just asset flips. Fun to pay for already, so they don't have to do much work. In some cases, I can understand how this might be okay. All right, I can see asset making can get expensive, and so is audio equipment. But I would much rather for a clap sound. You just go to your microphone instead of getting clap.5.wav, you clap. It brings a lot more character to your game. Not like Industria 2, where there are no sounds. You shouldn't be taking out the experience from a sound or lack thereof.
Stop, you're scaring me. You're scaring me. I said no. Stop being wretched.
Maximum speed. Maximum power. Maximum strength. Full engagement.
In modern games, sound design is almost invisible in the worst way, and we'll talk about that exact statement in the video later particularly. Everything bleeds together enough to stay hooked in your mind. Sure, it may be well edited together, well mixed, and competently made, or even realistic, but is it even memorable? That's a hard sell in the modern era. Sound effects should be original, and using stock sounds you're worse off for. A lot of times it's just laziness. Because at the core, like I said, you can play a game without sound. It particularly comes late in the development period. Because what is the core of the game? The gameplay. And yes, that is the most important part. When effort is put into the music and sound, it shows a level of effort beyond the standard. Even if the sounds are simple stylistic choices like slice footsteps or dude saying
Resident Evil 4.
on new game, the smallest effort pays off. It really does. I know how easy it can be to just search up whoosh sound. I know how you do it. You aren't paying to watch me. I'll use that again. I'll use it a billion other times. You're paying for games though, and sometimes a lot of money. It's so funny how you're paying more for games than ever because they're supposed to be higher production value and yet they're always built from the same shop, using the same tools with the same blueprints.
As
If you're
if
down
using
those people,
assets
you know what I'm talking about. It's the same
wasn't
house, built the
bad
same way
enough.
every time, except this one is
Well,
built instead of
just
that way. A good sound effect can create fear.
generating it with AI.
Can create peace. Without these effects, most games are left sapped of originality. It's a stage, sure, but it has no salt. It might be a little too dry. Memorability trumps realism and good mixing. I firmly believe this. Like I said, anybody with a good microphone can go outside and record a few steps on different surfaces. That's realism, and it has its place. It feels though when music, sound effects, and layering is much more beautiful than art itself when put together to create something wholly original. Which brings us to a certain video I'm sure you've seen. It went pretty big, millions of views. Well, I think 200K is big, but anyway, it's kind of the whole point of my little video here. This highly pretentious video titled "Invisible Sound Design in Breath of the Wild." Mind you, I think his video on FNAF is a good one, much better than this video. This one, however, does not really come out to much substance. It's very vague hosting like here, where he starts with the invisible design aspect of it. This entire section is almost meaningless. It's word salad. Let me explain.
They're called invisible design. Minuscule things like running toward that mountain range don't stand out. Once you understand the controls, running on the ground remains pretty consistent and only imparts new information if the terrain happens to change. This is why it's called invisible. Your mind attunes to it and comes to expect less and less from its pattern, and so spends less attention on it until it's taken for granted. Your mind attunes to it and expects less and less, and that's a good thing because it's then taken for granted. So, okay, if the sound design is so forgettable, it really surprises you when anything more jumps out at you from the monotony. I don't think that's good sound design. I think a lot of my issues is wording here. Why, of course, would you want sounds that you expect less of and already taken granted for, so that they can shove additional audio engineering trickery in there? Just because it's competently made and uses a lot of tools of the trade doesn't mean it's necessarily good or even memorable. Next is how he complements the natural movements of life. The meticulous care was put into footstep sounds. Since you hear them all the time while playing, it's like, oh, that's an understatement. There are hundreds of sounds surrounding them, from several footfalls for the types of terrain and based on what type of footwear you have, to the sounds of grabbing and holding items and weapons, to the sounds of weapons, bows, and shields rustling on your back. Gee, boy, Breath of the Wild is the first one ever to do that. We've never seen that before. I don't care how realistic your footsteps sound. If I can't recognize your game from the sounds alone, you fail. Every sound effect you feel like belongs only to your game. Again, I'm not saying it's poorly made. Why are we acting like this is the greatest audio design since the dawn of game? If you pay attention, it's just the mixing here. That's what he's complimenting. It's 3 item type sounds, layered and recorded at Link Walks. Fine. The title though is kind of a lie. The invisible sound design of Breath of the Wild. It's just the same type of audio design as most games. I don't like AAA games, but I mean, even the most standard Call of Duties have well mixed audio. It's just normal sound design. And this is just a sloppy copy on Breath of the Wild specifically with good editing. That's what makes this video. It doesn't say anything, true meaning. He asks you, would this video be as popular without the edited clips? No, most likely not. And that shows the pros of other videos.
Get a load of this fella.
There are also plenty of sounds revolving around the aforementioned chemistry engine in the game. There are sounds for different objects falling in water based on their shape and weight. including Link. Sorry, brave and mind-blowing. What the fuck are we watching here, bro? When I throw heavy thing in water, it makes big splash. With small thing, it makes little splashes. Oh, this is why Dick Breath Wild is the best game ever. Ready gold, everybody. On top of this, he says about fire. Different sounds for a brush fire, a torch sword weapon on fire, a fire arrow, and even for the sound of a launch fire arrow submerging in water.
I just despise this video. I just despise it. I better hope the audio designers thought a torch sounds different from a brush fire. My God, we're really just praising everything. I mean, remember that part of Fear where I turned on my headlamp, it sounded like a 10 billion gigawatt industrial light? But this part is hilarious, alright? So what he's trying to say is that two soundtracks blend together perfectly with a change of weather. In reality, what happens is there's a full 10-second silence before the next song begins, and he's like, this is amazing. Ready for that?
But about one weather cycle per full day, the weather changes to clear, and something ever so slight, but to me, magical, happens in that moment. I invite you to clear your mind, relax, and listen closely to the music as the weather changes.
Now, dead silent. This is the mixing here. Wait for it. That's all it takes. This dude is literally creaming his pants. That's amazing. It's almost like a track ended and a new one began. Oh my God. The audio track ended blatantly. Like there was like a 10-second wait before it began the next one. That also starts suddenly. Wow, brilliant. Truly brilliant. The status quo should not receive dogmatic praise. Competence should be a given. Sadly, it isn't. Stop calling basic or gettable audio design invisible genius. We need to return to asking a bit more. It's like buying a car and then praising the fact that it drives off a lot. That should be expected. Even some games fail at the basics. When you pay for a game, I really do expect it to be nearly wholly original. Not just the assets, not just the gameplay, but also the audio. Well, everybody, I know this might be a little bit different. I'm glad I could finally put together something a little higher quality for you. It's currently 1:41 a.m. I'm getting to rest, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Keep an eye out for the next one. Shouldn't be too long. Have a wonderful life. Thank you so much to all our members. Help make this possible with all my work. Well, love y'all. See you later. Take care.
Yes. Ja, I guess silly. For the sake of making it look so professional. Make it look professional. It's just too much makeup to disguise the lack of essence, the lack of soul in the product. Worse than having to hunt for assets is just asking AI to generate it for you. No.
Every ability you know more specific purpose, like this trap that we all know is used to trap enemies for an easy kill. However, what you may have never thought about is that it can also be used as a tripwire or an alarm system. If somebody has to destroy the trap, you'll get notified about it, and you'll know that somebody's coming from a flank. And in some instances, it's also possible to tell which hero destroyed it if you listen carefully. So, in some instances, it might be beneficial to not destroy the trap and instead ignore it and carry on with your day, unless you really want to alert a Junkrat player of your presence. This is one of many obscure and unless you really want to alert a Junkrat player of your presence. This is one of many obscure and creative ways you can use your abilities, and there are more weird attacks that you might find interesting or just outright stupid. Mei is a hero who is able to create multiple obstacles on the map with the use of her Ice Wall and Cryo Freeze, and most of us know that Mei's Wall is often used to just block pathways and absorb damage like if it's a barrier. But what you can also do with Mei's Wall is to save yourself or your teammates from Junkrat trap by spawning a wall just under their feet while they are trapped. This unfortunately doesn't work with Hazard's ultimate. Blizzard, please fix. Thank you. But also her Cryo Freeze can be utilized as a budget version of Ice Wall, where you can save your teammates from taking massive amount of damage by using it right in front of the enemy hero, like D.Va and her bomb. Using it this way will break a line of sight with the D.Va bomb, and you can also do the same on Zarya by bubbling yourself in front of it. Her Ice Block can also be used to push enemy heroes away, like off the map. And we should not forget about Hazard's Wall, which can also be used in some creative ways, one of which can actually be used against an enemy Hazard and his ultimate, which you can hide from by just placing a wall on a wall high enough for you or your teammate to stand underneath it like an umbrella. And funnily enough, Mei can also block Hazard's ultimate, but instead of staying underneath the wall, you can just hug it. If you're playing Tracer, have your ultimate ready, and see a sleeping enemy on the floor, then naturally what you want to do is kill that target with your pulse bomb. However, if there's also a Tracer on the enemy team, then one of the weird but cool things that she can try attempting to do is body blocking a sleeping teammate and taking a pulse bomb for herself, and then blinking out of the range of her teammate and recalling back. Wife Leader is quite an interesting hero who has all sorts of weird and obscure attacks for his abilities. For example, you can use his ultimate to break any deployables in the game, such as Mei or Hazard Wall, or destroy turrets. But from all the weird and silly ability interactions that he has available, the ones that I find to be the most weird and niche are being able to cancel Venture's Burrow Emerge animation and essentially just reset it, which you can use to save yourself in some situations. But probably the most obscure one is combining his pedal platform with Junkrat's trap by placing the trap on the ground and then a platform above it, so that if the enemy decides to step on it in hopes of getting a free shortcut, they'll instead be trapped and an easy target for your team. You can also technically do the very same thing but with Venture's Burrow by just blocking the visibility of a trap to the enemy players. Okay, I know. I don't want to make this video all about Junkrat and his traps, so this was the last time I mentioned it in this video, I promise. Apart from shooting more powerful balls, Freya's secondary target also serves as a defensive ability against all forms of displacement or boop abilities. So in other words, if you're to stand on the edge of a map, you'll get booped off just like any other hero in the game. However, if you use the secondary fire just before you get booped, you receive the increased amount of knockback. But if you do end up getting booped off the map and you have 2 more seconds before your updraft comes online, you can still stall yourself in the air by holding down the secondary fire on and off. And speaking of falling off the map, one quite weird thing that is available to certain heroes who are able to give themselves extra HP
by using an ability or an ultimate is that if you get moved off the map, you can use that ability to give enemy hero more ultimate charge. I have no idea why would you do that, but just keep in mind that you're doing the enemy player a huge favor by doing that. But if you do get booped off by the enemy player and you are on a hero who is capable of doing self-damage like Zarya or Soldier, you can shoot the nearest wall to inflict yourself with a little bit of damage. This will then override the enemy player's boop, and the game shall not credit them with a kill nor any ultimate charge. There are a good amount of heroes in Overwatch who have an ability that places a deployable on the map, and some of these deployables have their own hitbox and collisions. So apart from just placing Illari's pylon to let it heal you and your teammates, you can also use it to block enemy abilities like Deadeye or most of the projectile abilities. However, what you can also do is save your knockdown teammate from being pinned by the enemy Reinhardt, or yourself by timing it right. And since I mentioned Cassidy's Deadeye, which is infamously known for two things, getting a team wipe with a single press of a button, and forcing the entire enemy team to look at you and use all their abilities to stop you. Let's focus on the first one. There are a few creative ways of fully negating this ultimate, one of which involves sacrificing yourself as D.Va by literally hugging Cassidy, assuming that your defense matrix has been completely depleted. This will cause D.Va's mecha to fully absorb all of the Deadeye shots. Alternatively, it can also be blocked by doing the very same thing, but this time as Zenyatta with Transcendence. And as for Cassidy himself, apart from using his roll and Deadeye to survive massive bursts of damage, the combat roll can also be used for vertical mobility, and other abilities for other heroes that were made for lateral movement purposes can in some cases be used to gain verticality, most notably these two heroes. And even by Brigitte and Reinhardt. And one of the more unusual ways of gaining vertical mobility can be done by Sigma and his rock. In some areas of some maps where Sigma is just barely out of reach of a certain high ground, using accretion ability can help reach those certain ledges. If you're playing Jetpack Cat and you and your entire team just respawn with about 6 or 7% left before the enemy team secures the control point, you can still touch the point provided that you have your ultimate ready, by first speeding outside of your spawn and using your entire fuel, then using your ultimate and aiming as far as you can. Doing this will fully recharge your fuel, giving you another full speed flight that you can use to touch and stall the point. If your team has an ultimate disadvantage and you want to force as many ultimates from the enemy team to equalize your chances against them, then the best possible thing that you can do as a Genji player is to simply press your Q button and then witness the Armageddon befall on you. I really want to say that this is a joke, but to be completely honest with you all, this is an actual fact. When you have Illari or Torbjorn's turret up and running, and somebody on the enemy team starts shooting it or destroys it, you are unable to replace it without taking a massive penalty to the cooldown duration. However, it is technically possible to place a second turret as soon as the first one gets damaged or destroyed. You see, when you throw your second turret, the active one does not get replaced until the new one starts activating itself. So let's say if you throw Illari's pylon up in the sky while the active one gets destroyed a second later, then the pylon that is still flying in the sky will replace the destroyed one upon touching the surface. However, you will still incur a cooldown penalty. Okay, listen, I know this next one is going to sound crazy and you might actually think that I am indeed the most stupid person on earth, but hear me out. At one point in my Overwatch career, there was this moment where the enemy supports were seemingly healing their ally who was hiding behind a cone. And so this one time my team thought that there was somebody hiding behind it, probably Reinhardt, who was looking for a sneaky shatter. And so our team pushed there, ready to kill the hiding player, just for us to realize that nobody was there and in fact the player was hiding on the other side. And the rest is history. So if you want to play some kind of mind games with the enemy team, then this is something worth trying out, potentially. Send me a clip on Discord if you pull this off, it'll make me happy. Widowmaker's Venomine is mostly used for self-defense against the enemy flankers. However, you may have seen some Widow players placing it in front of themselves near the closest wall, and that is mostly used to prevent an enemy Widowmaker from headshotting you, essentially giving you a small advantage in a 1v1 scenario. If you play Emre, you're probably familiar with the tech where if you throw your nade at your feet and use your ultimate, you go way up in the sky. But if you want to reach a certain high ground without using your ultimate, you can instead use your pistol, throw a nade, jump, and then cancel your pistol, which will then propel you really high up. To most players, Hanzo's ultimate is one of the most deadliest ultimates in the game, capable of dealing up to 400 damage per second. But for the support players, this is one of the best ultimates in the game. Assuming that you're not in the middle of a teamfight, you can use enemy Hanzo's Dragon by having your tank as much damage as they can, without dying, while healing all the absorbed damage and gaining that free and juicy ult charge. This is actually best combined with Baptiste's Lamp, as it allows you to stay inside the dragon until either of the two disappear. Though do keep in mind that Hanzo's Dragon can destroy it. And don't worry, in case you didn't know, Hanzo doesn't gain any ultimate from his dragons. All he gets is an ego boost from the silly number on the scoreboard. There are some heroes in Overwatch who are able to enter third-person mode as part of their ability kit, and the biggest advantage of them having such abilities is not just to peek through the corner to see who is coming your way, but also to check some areas for any sneaky heroes hiding for an ambush. Alternatively, it is also possible to use either Doomfist or Bastion ultimates, which move really fast enough for you to scout some of the areas for any sneaky flankers and ping them for your team so that they can deal with them while you are looking for a better pick. Or you can just kill them yourself. These ultimates can also be used to clear Wrecking Ball's minefield. And you can also use Reaper's ultimate, which in this situation I like to call a glorified vacuum cleaner. And there's some other very niche techs you can do, like using Wu Yang's Rushing Torrent on enemy heroes to gain verticality, use Soldier's Healing Station at the same time with an ultimate for an animation cancel, hook enemy D.Va Bomb off the map to essentially cancel it, and use Healing Station at the same time with an ultimate on enemy heroes to gain verticality, use Soldier's Healing Station at the same time with an ultimate for an animation cancel, hook enemy D.Va Bomb off the map to essentially cancel it, and use Kiriko's Teleport at the same time with Reaper or Symmetra Teleport to double the travel distance. And now, for the most important tech that everybody and their mother should know, something that will make you truly the best player in Overwatch. You can give pets as Ramatra, Sigma, and Sombra by holding down secondary fire. Truly the most important thing for you to know. And that's all the obscure, weird, and silly Overwatch techs I have managed to find. Let me know which ones you think I missed. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. And I am now renaming the bots I use for my videos after channel members. So if you'd like to see your name appear in all my future videos, then also feel free to become a channel member. And as always, thank you all for watching.
Do what? Did what? No. Verification. Oh, yeah. No, no, no. VPN time. No, I was over the. God damn it. Prom. No, no.
Is it okay to ask what your thoughts on children getting hormones?
Appreciate the delicacy of the question. So the one thing that I would say if someone came to me, hey, I'm interested in taking hormones, I'm interested in gender reassignment surgery, what I would say is that I can't comment about whether that is a good idea or a bad idea, but what I do know is that if you want to do it, you better do it the right way, which is go to someone who specializes in it, get ruled out for all of the other conditions. If you have a trauma, go to a trauma surgeon. If you have cancer, go to a cancer surgeon. So go to the people who are experts in this stuff. With hormones and gender reassignment surgery, I think it should be done very, very carefully, very, very cautiously, and very, very correctly. And what is correct, if you want to make a moral stance on it, that's fine. I have no problem with that. So some doctors will say, I think it is harmful to do gender reassignment surgery, and that is more important than a patient's autonomy. I think that's a fine ethical argument to make. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. This is not my area of expertise. What I have seen some signals of is that when it's done poorly, when people rush to these things without doing a thorough differential, then you're opening yourself up to a potential problem.
Much. Mm. Oh, what a mess. Oh, yeah. I had to refresh on that. I don't think there's anything. I don't remember putting anything there. But just in case I forgot, better refresh. I didn't even check on this yet. Nope. What? Whatever. There's a ton of music here. I can listen to that on my own later. Mm. Not this, neither this, this. Barely ever anything interesting here, but well. Checking in just in case. Oh. No, not specific. What? Oh yeah, I need to disable the VPN for this, which is funny. Because it's not gonna load up properly because of that, apparently. No, it's already broken, yeah. So that's it. I almost forgot to check on this. And I forgot a few things, yeah. It's done. It's never gonna order. It's there now. There's something of something. There's something of something. Blah blah blah. There's something of something. There could be a title on it, let me see. There's something. could be. I don't know. It's getting a little tiring. The same type. The same type of title over and over and over. There's something, there's something, there's something, there's something. Yep. I'm gonna spend a single day not watching this type of. It's not nothing too wrong about it, but at the same time it gets tiring. Jokes, chat, I think Facebook, the art, if you are into this, so that game, to get that game, so that if there's something of something again, yeah, I probably noticed. Now, Facebook, I think, chat, okay, yeah, okay, it's all here now.